Hi, this is Kara Mayer Robinson. Welcome to Really Famous, where I talk to famous people and cut through the fluff to get to what they really think and how they really feel. My guest today is Hollywood icon Chaz Palminteri. That's right, Chaz Commentary. Known for his roles in A Bronx Tale, The Usual Suspects, Bullets Over Broadway, and one of my personal favorites, Analyze This. But did you know Chaz also owns a restaurant? That's right, it's called Chaz Palminteri Italian Restaurant. It's in Midtown Manhattan, and it's right down the street from the Broadway play A Bronx Tale, which you may or may not know is actually a semi-autobiographical story of Chaz himself. It started out as a one-man play that he wrote for himself and became a huge hit. It blew up. Movie studios started fighting for the rights to the film, and before Chaz knew it, it changed his life forever. I sat down with him the other day at his restaurant. We grabbed a table and he told me all kinds of cool stories behind A Bronx Tale. Some of them were wild. He really did see a guy get shot when he was just a little boy. He really did develop a relationship with the neighborhood boss, I guess you'd call him. He really did have a father who taught him these important life lessons, like there's nothing sadder than wasted talent. And get this, his name is actually Calogero, which is the name of the boy in A Bronx Tale. He told me a really cool and surprising story about the night that Robert De Niro showed up in his dressing room. So yeah, after hanging out with Chaz, for sure I can tell you he's a cool guy, but he's also like a real regular New Yorker. He tells it like it is, but it's all good. In fact, the longer we were talking, the more I started to see that there's so much more to him. Not sure I can sum him up that easily. So why don't you just have a listen and see for yourself. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast if you aren't already subscribed, because I'm going to be releasing extra bonus clips with Chaz later this week, such as his secret to making a perfect sauce. Here's Chaz Palminteri.
Am I right or wrong? You know what I do on Sunday? They do the show, and I come here and we all have we have pasta dinner at the end of the show. So all the people go see the show, and then they come in and have Sunday pasta, meatballs and pasta here, and I'm here.
Are you a foodie? I mean, have you always been into, do you cook?
Yeah, I cook, yeah. I make like 5 things really good. That's how you gotta do it. That's how you fool people. If you make like 5 things pretty good, you can tell people you're a great cook. Which, you know, I'm not a great cook, but I can do, like, you gotta make sauce. You have to know how to make sauce. You have to know how to make Caesar salad. If you make a great Caesar salad, you know how to make sauce. And if you know how to grill certain fish and steak, that's it. Then you can lie your way through.
All right, so I heard like 3 dishes in there. What are the other 2?
Well, shrimp scampi is good.
Scampi.
Yeah. But you got to know how to make sauce, because everything evolves around the sauce. You make meatballs with sauce, pasta with sauce, every kind of pasta with sauce. Sauce is the key. You got to learn how to make a great sauce.
So are you, now I know that you have roots in
Am
Sicily.
I on right now?
You're on, yeah.
Okay.
You have roots in Sicily, right?
Yes, my family's from Sicily.
And in Sicily, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, they put sugar in?
They do, yes.
Do you?
Sometimes I do. When I make that sauce, yes. But my wife is napolitana. So, and I actually follow her recipe now. And my mother-in-law's recipe. It was different, and I liked it better because it's a little healthier. It's not with the meat, it's not with the gravy, it's not with the sausage. It's just a regular clean sauce.
Oh, so it's just like a marinara.
Like a marinara, yes, that's correct.
You're right down the street, first of all, from your show, A Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
So was your play originally. You wrote it.
Yes, I did the one-man show. It was a play. And then we did the movie, and now it's a musical. And my restaurant is on right here, 30 West 46th Street, West Side. And my play, the musical, is on 48th Street. So it's really great, you know, Lisa, because a lot of people they come here before the show, and I'm here. I'm here a lot.
Are they surprised to see you though?
They're like, "You're really here?" I go, "Well, yeah. You know, if I'm going to eat anywhere, I'm going to eat here."
Yeah, but at most, like celebrity,
they don't go.
They don't go. So
well, they also don't have a musical that's 2 blocks away.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
true. So your whole world is kind of.
My whole world is here. You know, we're casting for more roles for the other company. So I'm always here, like, so I just walk right over.
We talk about the whole story and how you got started with decided you're going to write this one-man play.
Oh,
so you were how old? So you grew up where? Let's start there.
I grew up on 187 in Belmont. You know, that's where I grew up. And I always wanted to be an actor. And to make a long story short, I started singing, had a singing career. And then in the 70s, I started studying with Lee Strasberg. I got into the actor's studio.
Hey, have you been interviewed by Lipton?
No.
Oh, you haven't?
I was supposed to at one time, and then I went off to do a movie, and it didn't happen.
Oh,
I know.
He's interesting in the
He's
sense that
yeah.
a lot of amazing people have been interviewed by him.
Yeah, but I really always wanted to be an actor, and then finally in 1982, I got a break as an understudy. I was understudying a part. Oh, actually, it was off Broadway. I did a play called Guys in the Truck, and then I got noticed by an agent, and they saw me. And then actually the play went to Broadway, and I was understudying the lead part, one of the leads, and I really got, the play didn't last long, but it's a funny story. I don't know if you want to hear it.
Of course I want to hear it.
Anyway, I get this part, I'm understudying one of the leads on Broadway, and I go back to my neighborhood and I tell all my friends that I'm on Broadway, and they said, oh great, we're going to come and see you, we're all going to get together. And I said, well, you really can't come and see me because I'm an understudy. These wise guys, what do they know what an understudy is? They said, well, what's an understudy? I said, well, if something happens to the guy, then I go on, and not realizing what I said. And about 5 minutes later, they walk over to me and they go, hey, Chaz. I go, yeah. They go, you want to go on? And I said, what? They said, we'll work it out. You go on. And then I realized what they were saying. They said, don't worry, we'll make it look like a mugging. I was like, hey, no. And
that's like right out of a movie. I was like, I'm right out of a movie, man. I was like, oh my God. Right out of one of your movies.
I'm telling you, right. So, and that's just like, I always tell that funny story because it's so weird. And then in 1986, I went out to LA. And I started working right away. I got on Hill Street Blues and Matlack and Dallas and a mini-series, and that sustained me for a couple of years. The money I made, I put away. Then I started running out of money again in 1988. And I said, what the hell am I going to do? I didn't have much money, so I got a job as a doorman because I used to box. I worked as a bouncer at clubs.
So you boxed where? In the Bronx?
Not professional.
Just on the side, like you belonged to a club?
No, my father was a trainer. My father was a bus driver, but he was also a professional trainer, fight trainer. So my father's been teaching me since I was a kid, So I boxed in the gym. I mean, I could handle myself. So anyway, I got a job as a doorman. And I was there for 4 months making money, trying to get another part. And one day this guy came over to me. He was really rude to me because he wanted to get in right away. He was pushing me out of the way. I said, hey, take it easy. I said, well, you got to get, he said, don't you yell at me. I said, don't you? And I said, hey, you just can't walk in here. And he says, you're going to be fired in 15 minutes. I said, yeah, sure, say that. So he goes, do you know who I am? I said, yeah, you're the guy who's not getting in tonight. So he really got mad, and I heard him say something to somebody. The boss comes out, and I did get fired in 15 minutes. The guy was Swifty Lazar. And Swifty Lazar was the biggest agent in the world at the time. And I just told him he couldn't come into his own party because he was nasty. And so I went home.
But you were doing your job, just saying.
Yeah, he was rude. I didn't like it. So I didn't know he was 50 years old, but he was rude. So I went back to my apartment and sitting in this dump apartment, and I said, I got $200 in the bank. What the hell am I going to do? So then I said, well, if they won't give me a great part, then I'll write one myself. I'll do a one-man show. I had to get noticed, So I went to a thrifty drugstore, I got 5 tabs of yellow paper, and I started writing about this killing that I saw when I was 9 years old. This guy killed a man right in front of me. And I wrote just that. I did it on Monday, I got fired on Sunday, and that night I wrote this 5-minute piece. And then on Monday I went to my Theater West workshop. I was a member of the theater company out there, a very prestigious theater company. And I did it for the people, and everybody was like, wow. And I said, wow, this this could be something. So each week I would write more. Then Monday nights I would perform it. And each week I would write more, and I would cut out a little, take out more. You know, I would really hone it. And at the end of almost a year, I had a 90-minute one-man show.
And you could tell while you were doing it that it was getting
Well, I could
people.
see
It was
that way.
something there.
People really loved it.
They loved it.
And I would write 10 minutes and keep 3 minutes, write 5 minutes, keep 2 minutes. So I would always edit, you know. And then at the end of a year, I called up a friend of mine because I needed money to produce it. I had no money. And I called my friend, and he owned a nightclub here, and he said, well, let me think about it. I said, I need some money. I thought he blew me off, to be honest with you. And then the next day, I get a FedEx check for like $40,000. I was like, I said, you sent me $40,000? He goes, yeah. Is that enough to do it? I went, yeah. He said, I said, but you don't even know what it's about. You didn't even read it. He goes, oh, I saw you in a bunch of movies and I saw you in a play. You're really talented. He goes, I'll take a shot with you. And I did it.
So what did you do with that money?
I got the money. I hired a publicist. I got a theater. I got everything, and I put the show up.
You did it here in New York?
I did it in LA.
They loved it?
It was like
off the charts?
An explosion. The New York Times came and Hollywood Reporter, and they wrote it like it was the second coming. It was like it was like Hamilton, you know. Remember, it was like incredible. It was like people coming, lines around the corner getting into the theater. We had to move to a new theater that was big. You know, we went to move to Theater West. And after 2 weeks, I get a phone call from Universal, call me at my house. And they offered me $250,000 for the rights of the story. But they didn't want me. They didn't, you know. I said, I'm going to play Sonny. They said, no.
And did you play Sonny in the play?
I played all 18 parts.
Oh, right, you wanted to play, sorry. Yes,
it's a one-man show. I did all 18.
Right. So they didn't want you at all?
Well, they said that they wanted...
Just the rights.
See, all these stars wanted to do it. Nicholson wanted to do it. Pacino wanted to do it. All these big stars. Burt Reynolds wanted to do it. I mean, all these stars wanted to play that part. And all these big directors wanted to direct it. And all these writers wanted to write it.
Holy...
It was it was crazy.
That's crazy. How did you feel about it all? Like, what were you going through at that time when that was all happening?
Pacino came to see it. Everybody came to... I was... I just kept doing my thing, you know.
So you didn't think too much about it?
I said, I play Sonny and I write the screenplay. That was my thing. I said, no, I play Sonny and I write the screenplay. So after I turned them down, they said, fine. You know, they said, you're going to blow it. I said, well, fine. And then after 2 more weeks and crowds kept coming, then I got another call from another studio. They offered me $500,000.
Same deal?
Same deal, but they wanted just the story. And I said, no. I said, I'm not doing it. And then I signed with William Morris at the time. And it was a funny story because I had a car that kept leaking water, had a hole in the radiator. It was a 1972 Honda Civic that I was driving. And I used to get, sometimes it would overheat and I couldn't get to there on time. And this one time it overheated and I couldn't get to William Morris on time because they'd overheated. But they were courting me, CAA was courting me, and ICM, those 3 big ones, calling me constantly. So then finally I couldn't make the thing with William Morris because I haven't decided yet. And they called me up, they said, what's wrong? And I said, well, my car overheated and I can't. You didn't sign with anybody else, did you? You're not lying to us. I said, no. They said, all right, don't worry about the car. We'll call you right back. And I was like, what the hell is that about? You know? An hour later, somebody knocks on my door and the guy opens the door, goes, you Chaz Palminteri? I said, yeah. He goes, come with me. So now I live in this place in the valley where all these broke actors lived, a shit apartment, and everybody had all broken down cars, you know, okay? I go downstairs in the parking lot, and this guy brings me over to this 1989 brand new Cadillac Eldorado, black with saddle interior, and hands me the keys and said, here, William Morris got this for you. Don't be late for your meeting.
Nice.
True story. And I'm like, I called them up and I said, what's going on? They said, well, we just don't want you to be late for the meetings anymore. We know you haven't I said, I haven't decided yet. That's okay. We leased it for you for 2 years. It's yours. Do whatever you want. If you want to sign with us, do it. If you don't, it's okay. So I met with them, and I met with the other people. I signed with We Are Mars.
You did?
I did, yeah. And
have you been with them ever since?
I've been with them forever, yeah, 25 years. And then I left. Then 2 weeks later, I do the show in packed house, and I finish it, and the guy walks over to me and says, hey, Robert De Niro is in your dressing room. We just saw the show. And I said, I just got off the stage. I go, what? He goes, I go, you're full of shit. He goes, Chaz, he's in the dressing room. He's waiting for you.
It's crazy.
So I go, I believed it because big stars were coming. So I said, okay, maybe De Niro came. I walk in the dressing room. He's sitting in the corner. He goes, hey, I said, hey, how you doing, Bob? He goes, hey. He goes, wow. He goes, that's the greatest one-man show I ever saw. I said, thanks, Bob. He goes, you did a movie on stage all by yourself. He goes, you played all 18 parts. I went, yeah. And he goes, wow. And he goes, listen, I really like to make this. I went, Bob, that's how crazy I was. I said, Bob, I just want you to know, before we talk about anything, and he goes, I know, you want to play Sonny, you want to write the screenplay. Let me tell you how I feel about this. He goes, you should play Sonny, you'll be great. And you should write the screenplay because it's your life and it'll be real. I'll play your father and I'll direct it. And he goes, and we'll go partners. And if you make it with me, I'll make it right. Shake my hand and that's the way it'll be. Shook his hand and that's it. Man, I said, okay, let's do it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but he never directed anything else, right? Like, was that his one and only, or one or two?
He never directed anything. Yeah, he directed 2.
So that's something
Bronx
else too.
Tale was his first.
So he wanted to actually step into directing for your play.
That's correct. He goes, he always wanted to direct, and when he saw my play, he said, that's what I want to do.
This is it.
Yeah.
So then that was that. You made the film.
Yeah.
Is there more to the story?
Well, I made the movie, then I did Bullets Over Broadway, got nominated for Academy Award, and Usual Suspects, and my career has been...
Now, do you ever get tired of talking about it, though? A Bronx Tale?
No.
No?
I mean, I always think that, everybody must know that story, but there are people who still don't know it.
No, I think that there are a lot of people who don't know it.
I always think, I don't want to bore people with that story, but every time, like, I meet you and other people, they go, so how did this happen? I went, okay, and I tell the story. My name is Claudro. I mean, I'm the boy. I'm the little boy. A lot of people don't know that.
I don't think a lot of people know that.
A lot of people don't know that, yeah.
That is so cool. So really everything about it is you? Like, that's a true story down to every detail?
A lot. I saw the killing. I used to throw the dice for the wise guys. My mother was Rosina. My father Lorenzo was a bus driver. My father told me about wasted talent. We used to go to City Island, most of it, yeah.
Yeah, and the themes, like the wasted talent, the working man.
That was my father, yeah.
That was your father. So you had a good relationship with your father, or
Tremendous.
were there rocky points because of Sonny?
Never. Rocky points, he used to get mad at me. Could you call them rocky points? Regular father-son things, but my father, I always loved my father. My father always loved me, and so did my mother. We always loved each other.
So it was a good, stable, you felt comfortable growing up.
I had the greatest parents in the world. There's nobody. My father passed away at 90. My mother passed away some months ago in 97. So they saw all my success.
And what did they feel when they saw all of that?
They said, you didn't waste your talent, son. You kept your promise. And my sisters, I must bring up, our 2 sisters were very successful. They were successful before me, and my sister, she married very well, and then she started her own travel agency, and she built up a whole bunch of them, then sold them all and retired with her husband. And my other sister was a she had 2 masters. She's a teacher now.
Do they live around here?
They live in Florida.
They both do?
Yeah, they both live in Florida. So my parents, whatever they did, man.
They did it right.
They did it right. I mean, they instilled work in us,
And you have kids too, right?
I have 2 kids, yeah.
And do you pass along those same things?
No question.
So, but you have to be like a little intentional with it, right? Like you have to figure out, like, well, they did something, so I want to make sure I'm doing the same thing.
Yes, I told them about they can't waste their talent. I put these little cards in their room, like my father put the card in my room. I carry cards with me that when I meet a kid who talks about wants to be an actor and he's a young boy or his family's there, and I said, well, then you can't, if you have talent, you can't waste it. And I give him a card, I sign it.
So the thing with your friends and the car, that happened for real?
Yeah, but what really happened was when the car came, I didn't get in the car. Sonny never pulled me out of the car, but I say that because it makes it more dramatic.
Sure.
But I actually put my foot in the car and looked, and I knew it was wrong. And I thought of my father about wasting my life, and I stepped out.
That's something else.
But if I'm in that car, I'm not here. I'm not here. Bronx Tale never is here. Nothing's ever on Broadway. This is not here. I remember saying, I go, where'd you get the car? I remember saying that. I remember those words. I went, hey man, where'd you get? I was laughing. Where'd you get the car? And I smelled the gas, and then he said, we borrowed it. And they all started laughing, and I just went, I said, I can't, and I stepped out.
And you think about that second, that like 1 foot move that you made with your body?
Yeah.
Well, always.
I think about it. Because it's a movie now, and see, I think about that because that wasn't in the movie. See, the things that actually happened in the movie, I don't think about anymore.
Well, what else was not in the movie?
To me, it's like a dream, like, see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, to me, the things that really happened, like the killing, him looking at me and walking away from me and me going, that happened, and I don't think about that no more.
Right, because you've seen it a million times on TV
Because I see it on
and
screen,
on the play.
I play it all the time on stage.
Right, so it's almost
to me,
like
it's like seeing
you're
all the
detached from it.
I'm detached from it.
But the other things you're more...
Well, the other things that are not in this real story.
Like what else?
Well, there was never a lineup. What happened was when the cops came up, my father would let me go downstairs.
Oh,
my father
that's
said no.
interesting.
And they said to me, did you see who killed him? And I said, no. They said, you were sitting right there on the stoop. People told us you were sitting right there. And they said, and they said the guy's name. Did you see him? I said, no. And my father said, did you hear? He said, no, he doesn't know anything. He's not going down. And my mother said, I don't want him involved in this shit,
Yeah.
But I never went down.
So how did Sonny know that you protected him? He knew everything.
Well, he stared right at me. He was looking right at me. And he knew they came up there to talk to me.
And they left without coming back to him.
And they left without coming back to him. And people and everybody in the building, come on, it's a little tiny nip. They said, no, the kid would, hey, Sonny, the kid didn't rat you out. The kid didn't rat you out. So when I saw him the next day, when I was sitting on the stoop, he looked at me and I looked at him and he went, like.
And it really all changed like that with that look.
He looked at me like, I know that you know that I know that you know that I know. And I looked at him, it was like a bond. It was a bond.
Yeah.
And that was it.
So how do people usually react to you in real life? Like, do they feel like you're sort of Sonny, or
sometimes
are people sometimes intimidated to meet you?
Very much.
How do you know? How can you tell?
I can tell by the way they are.
What do they do?
Shake sometimes.
Shake?
Sometimes get very
Really?
nervous, yeah. But I put them at ease right away.
What do you do?
I just smile and say, hey, man, what's up?
But you're a super nice guy, I get the feeling.
Yeah.
And they see that right away.
Well, I think so. My father says to be nice, My father told me to be a nice person. I love people, Yeah.
So give me an example of when you've met people and you felt like.
Well, when I go back to the neighborhood, a lot of people, some of the older people that own the stores, they still call me Colodro. Hey, Colodro, what are you doing? And I know everybody there, and I go. I have in the play. There's 4 stores that are the sets. There's Mike's Deli, Medunio Bread Bakery. There's Gino's Pastry and Bogatti Raviolis, and these are stores I used to hang out with. I grew up with, and I put them in the play.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity to give them a little shout out.
Those are the great stores. They've been there for 80 years. 100. Some of them have been there for 100 years.
So who named you Chaz?
That happened when I was really young.
Who?
One of my friend Philly. He grew up to be a very big person.
Who?
He's the assistant inspector of New York City. He ran for district attorney. Phil Foley.
Okay. So he's a childhood
He's my best
friend.
friend.
He's your best friend now.
My best.
Always been.
Always been my best friend. What? Let me be clear about this. I grew up with 25 guys. Okay, 25 of us since we were kids. We've been meeting every year near my birthday. It used to be near my birthday. Now it's close to on my birthday. For the past 35 years, once a year we all meet, no matter where, and they all live in different places all over the United States. We meet. It's probably going on 40 years, almost 40 years. We've been meeting, and we all hang out and tell the same stories and get together.
That's incredible,
Yeah.
and I think very rare.
Very rare.
Especially with such a large number of them.
Yeah, well, there's 23 now. Two died, but we have plates for them set up.
And where do you meet? Do you come here to the restaurant?
We go to my house.
You go to your house.
We
and
go to my
who
house.
cooks?
We
You order in.
we send out.
Send out, right?
Send out, and my mother-in-law and my wife make the gravy, the sauce.
They do for
That
everybody?
we do, yeah. We always make the sauce. We don't send out for the sauce, but we send out for chickens and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
And where do they stay for the out-of-towners?
Some of them stay at my home.
So they do.
Yeah, I have a big house.
And so how do your kids feel about all of this?
Oh, they can't get over
So it sounds like they grew up in a very warm, social, family environment.
Very much, yes.
And how old are they?
My son's 21, my daughter is 15.
And what do
Very
they
talented.
do?
In the business.
Are they?
My son went to Berkeley in Boston, Conservatory of Music. He's a guitar player, singer, songwriter, really talented, and an actor. And he does both, just like his father did. I did music and acting, both.
It's the artistic
just like
gene.
his father. And my daughter is a singer, dancer, actress, amazing. Really, really studying ballet and dancing since she was a kid, singing lessons. My wife is my wife and I said, all right, you guys really want to do this? You're going to work, and you're going to work with the best people, and you're going to learn. And if you want to do it, great. When the time comes, you don't want it. If you don't, then you stop. So, and my daughter auditioned, got on Blue Bloods, got on it. My son, Law and Order, Orange is the New Black. They're talented.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Are you proud?
Very proud of them. But let me give a lot of credit to my wife on this, really pushing them, because she was an actress and she's a producer now. So we said, okay, you really want to do it, then, you got to get great marks in school. That's it. We don't want to hear it. And they do. And that was it.
Now, you're also in quite an established group of actors in terms of, you're part of this impressive group of actors in these impressive films. Do you hang out with anybody too on the side?
Well, I'm friends with Robert De Niro. I'm friends with Joe Pesci. I know Chris Walken and all those guys. Pacino, I know real well. I did a play with Al. So I know all of them. Yes.
Yeah, I think
they're good friends.
People get a kind of a good, warm, fuzzy feeling, I think, knowing that you guys are bonded in real life too.
We're really good friends. Yeah, we're good friends. I mean, we don't see each other every day, but we're good friends. We're yeah. I mean, that's it's like the New York actors, actor studios still around where actors will hang out.
Yeah, there's a bond.
Yeah, there's a bond.
And you're also pretty active you're a big supporter of the New York Police Department, right?
Yes, I am, very much.
Very vocal.
Very vocal.
Supportive.
Very supportive.
Where did that stem from?
Because and that's many years ago that started. I've been doing this for many years. In fact, I don't know if I should say it. I don't know, I'll think about it. I'm going to the funeral tonight. When I leave here, I'm going to the funeral of the officer who got killed in the Bronx. I'm going to go, not to the funeral, the wake. I'm going to the wake of her, Officer Familia.
Yeah,
I'm going there tonight. I'm not going to go to the funeral because I don't want to draw attention. It's too much attention, and I don't want that. It should be about the policemen and their brothers and sisters, and I don't want press to. So I thought the wake would be much better for me to go to where it's quiet, nobody,
Right.
But I think it's important that we back our police officers. This is crazy. This rhetoric that's going around that police officers are bad. Is everybody lost their mind here or something? That's a total lie. Look, are there bad apples once in a while? Yes. And should they be prosecuted? Absolutely. And if a person is killed unjustifiably, so that person has to be prosecuted. But as a whole, the policemen don't wake up in the morning and want to kill people. You know, they want to, you know, they just want to get through the day and come home.
Yeah, and I am sure they appreciate your support because you have a voice that's maybe heard.
And I try to get out there. And my best friend, Phil Folia, he was a big law enforcement person, obviously. He's Assistant Inspector General of New York. That's what he is, assistant. And his father was a big NYPD detective. So I grew up with that. You know, I grew up with all this. And I think we should, look, when something happens, who do you call? 911. You know what I mean? You're running and these guys are running in with guns. I mean, come on.
The actor who played you as a teenager, right? He was in his name was what, Lilo?
Lilo Brancato.
Lilo Brancato.
Yeah.
So he was involved in a burglary.
A burglary that caused the policeman to die.
And then he went to prison. He went to jail for like 8 years or something. 10 years.
Right.
So that must have been horribly upsetting for you, or am I making assumptions?
Very upsetting. I'm so upset by it. Very upset by it. Well, I'll talk a little bit about it. Here's a boy who was given the break of a lifetime, who like hit the lotto, okay, walking down a beach and gets in a major movie with Robert De Niro and Chaz Palminteri, okay, and is in a movie, the quintessential movie about not wasting your life. And then for 10 years, I used to see him and talk to him about, hey man, you got to get it together. Constantly telling him, something's gonna happen sooner or later, and he didn't listen. So now I you know, there's a thing in Sicilian, you wash your hands. I wash my hands. That's it.
And then that happens.
Then that happens.
Did he clean up his act after that, you think?
After he went to jail? I don't know. I don't want to make it sound like anything that I am on his side at all.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I don't think you said anything.
I don't think I did. Like I'm on the policeman's side.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
If you really want to hear, you know, this policeman died. Okay, a policeman who was about to do something important, break up a robbery, died. Okay, that's it, as far as I'm concerned. I've been, for the past 10 years, I've been going to a lot of the minority schools in the Bronx and speaking to Hispanics and Latinos and African American kids about, you know, not wasting their talent. I go to the juvenile prisons. I've been to the prisons and speak to them. I try to go to the juvenile prisons. I've been to the hardcore prisons, but it's a little late for them.
The window has closed?
Well, you talk to them about it. You know, some of them appreciate it, but I try to get them before they go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get them in the juvenile before they go into population.
Right. It's like I always think about, like, there are sometimes, even if in groups of friends, like there may be one or two bad apples, as you would say, who are like kind of leading the way, and then the group joins in. You could kind of go one way or the other, but maybe they're going to follow the one or two. But if you can step in and somebody can do something before it's too late, then they might not join in, and they might not go that way.
Look, I had a great mother and father who kept me. If I had a different parent, I might have got in that car. I might have been killed. I don't know. But the reason why I didn't get in the car, the reason why I sometimes pulled away, was because I didn't want to hurt my parents, and I knew they loved me, and I loved them, and I didn't want to hurt them. That's what it comes down to. It really comes down to how you feel loved about yourself. A lot of these kids are involved in these gangs because they think their brothers love them and their friends love them. Nobody loves you. You know what I'm saying?
It's well, I know what you're saying, because I remember even when I was a teenager and I would have choices to make or whatever, and I would always feel this like sense of, oh, what would my parents think right now, or like, oh, what would my parents say?
Well, there you go.
I had them in my head all the time.
You had them in your head all the time. That's right. Did you see the movie?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the choices you make will shape your life forever.
Of course. Those messages are huge.
Yes, huge.
I just had dinner with friends last night, and my friend Deb was saying, messages from that movie, messages from A Bronx Tale, like powerful, potent.
Well, that's why I think it's part of my mission in life, and I've written other things, but as far as Bronx Tale goes, is to make sure that kids understand that.
Yeah. And do they tell you? Do you hear from like maybe caseworkers
you have
or
no
somebody?
Idea. Yeah, I have no idea.
What do they tell you?
It changed my son's life. It changed my daughter's life. It changed my life. It changed. I teach this in my classroom, and they all did a term paper on it. And a lot of times, for the record, full disclosure. So I go to a lot of places and I get paid to do it. But then there's a lot of places I go where I don't get paid to do it because I don't want to get paid. I'll go to the schools and I don't want no money for that.
Yeah.
But I'll go speak at big corporate events and I'll get paid to do that.
Right, but at the schools you usually don't. You just want to do it.
No, for the schools I don't get paid. I don't want no money.
Right, it feels good. Like
the prisons, I don't want no money. I don't want no money.
Yeah.
If there's a big corporate event and they want me to speak about all this, then they pay me. So I can't be any more honest with you.
So looking back on your life, any regrets?
The only regret, it's not a regret, the only thing I wish I would have did, I wish I would have studied harder in high school so I could have got into it. I always wanted to go to, I wanted to go to a big time college, but I couldn't get in. I didn't have the grades. I never would have gotten in anyway because I didn't have no money. Right,
but what was your dream? Like, what did you picture for yourself at a big time college? Like, was there one specifically and something you do there?
Because I was so talented as a young boy. I just didn't have the, when I finally went to Bronx Community College, when I did go to college, and I started working really hard and studying, and then I got really good marks, I went, oh wow, I'm not dumb. I had dyslexia.
Oh, you really?
I had dyslexia, and I didn't know that back then. I found out later. Back when I was young, you had dyslexia, they thought you were dumb. And, but once I knew it, once I realized I could read, but I couldn't, it was like I couldn't put numbers together, like algebra and things like that. You could tell me 100 different ways, like my spelling was terrible. But I could really tell you about, like my best subject was English literature. And I didn't, how would English literature be my best subject? How could that be? But they would do breakdowns of, I remember Joseph Hess, is that his name? The playwright? Joseph Hess was a writer. And they said, well, break D.H. Lawrence, and they would say, read this and write a paper on it. And I would read it and understand it. I would read it and say, oh, I know what he's trying to say here, and I would write it, and I would get A. And they said to me, you can write, you're
obviously now.
Obviously, but I didn't. But when I think of my life now, I go, oh my God, I had all this talent, and nobody was nurturing it because I didn't know. I was a street kid.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I happened to fall. Then I started writing and then when I did Bronx Tale, and I said, well, I'm going to write my own thing, and I write Bronx Tale.
And it just came out.
It just came out of me. Then I wrote Fateful right after that, and that was a hit, and that was a movie. And so it's just, I could write.
But almost when you look back, though, if it hadn't happened the way that it was, and you did go to a college, some fancy college, who knows what would have happened?
Maybe it would have happened differently. I know, but it just, when I see all these kids go to college, and I said, man, because it bothers me, because I could have did it.
But you didn't know at the time.
I didn't know at the time. I just thought I didn't know I was smart enough.
Well, how did you find out that you had dyslexia?
Funny, when we tested my son.
And he has it too?
Because my son spoke so early and spoke about things that I was like, holy shit. And, he would say things like, 3-4 years old about the Bible. about Jesus when we would go to. But I said, John, I said, Dante's like brilliant. She goes, yeah, I think he's off the charts, you know. But then when he started to go in school, reading, his reading wasn't matching his mental capacity.
That's it. It's that disparity between intellectual ability and what's happening on the page.
And Jonna, my wife, who's very, she went to Villanova, she's like right on it. She was like, he's getting tested. Something's not right here. Something is, because they were taking him out of class to do special readings, and he was self-esteem. He was like, Jonna said, something's wrong. And we took him to get really tested, and they said, oh, he's dyslexic. And I said, well, what is it? I said, well, I heard about that. What? And then she started saying it, and I went, holy shit, that was me. And that's how I knew. And then I started going to, I said, well, I can't do this. You're dyslexic. And I never realized it like that.
So what happened after you found out, for him and for you? Well,
Boom.
You just now
took
know.
Him right out, and he was going to a private school. We took him right out of there. We took him and sent him to Eagle Hill.
Oh, okay.
4 kids in a class, 5 kids in a class.
And how did that go?
Best thing we ever did.
All right, so should we get back? Let's do maybe a last round of quick questions and answers?
Sure. No, someone just tweeted a saying that I wrote. If you want life to last, then do something that will outlast it.
Best film ever made.
Yes, that's very simple. On the waterfront. On the waterfront with Kassan, with Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando in that movie?
Yeah.
Holy cow. And I saw that film for the first time maybe 2 years ago.
You did?
And I couldn't believe
it's the greatest movie.
It was like the predecessor to all the great films later.
To me, it's the most perfect film.
Why?
The acting, the script, the writing, the directing, it's perfect.
Spot on. And so, however many years later it is.
Yeah, I think it was 1951.
Yeah, really resonates.
Yeah.
Best actor?
Of?
All time?
The best actor of all time. Boy, that's a tough one. I don't know. I got a lot of good friends. Well, let me put it this way. How do you consider a best actor? You do that by what they inspired. Okay, I'll give you an example. I do it in Will Chamberlain, the basketball player. He was so dominant and great when he came into the basketball that they had to change the rules. Jim Brown was so dominant in lacrosse when he played at Syracuse, they had to change the rules. Then there's actors who come in and you go, they have to change the rules. Marlon Brando, when he did Streetcar Named Desire on stage, when he came down, people thought some stranger just walked on the stage and started talking. He started that naturalistic way of acting that people just copied after that. In 1980, when Bob De Niro did Raging Bull, no one gained 60 pounds and drove a taxi when he did. No one did that. You just acted and, this is my part and this is what I do. No one did that. And De Niro changed the rules again after Brando. And so I would have to say Brando, De Niro are the great actors, and there's so many great ones. I mean, those are the actors who changed the rules to me. I really think you have to give, you got to look at these guys, Nicholson and Pacino and Daniel Day-Lewis. And I think if I had to go, one of the great actors coming up now is Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy, I think, is going to do some things that are really going to surprise people.
So you see something when you see him?
I did a movie with him, Tom Hardy, and there was something about him that I said, this guy is going to be special.
He's got it.
He's got it. He's going to break some rules,
Okay. Do you watch television?
Yeah.
What are your shows?
I watch TV. I'm trying to think what I watch. I watched Breaking Bad. I remember when that was on. That was really good. I love watching Seinfeld. I just love watching it. I just can't get enough of it. Just makes me laugh. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I just want to laugh. You know, and I watch Seinfeld. You know.
What else do you do for fun?
What else do I do for fun? I go shooting a lot. I like guns. I enjoy doing target shooting.
So where do you go for that?
I go out in Jersey. I like to do long range sniper shooting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you've been doing that for a long time?
With guns, you know, pistols, rifles, handguns. I enjoy it. I did movies where you had to train with guns, and I picked it up and I liked it.
So your friends who you do it with?
Not my close friends, no. And I mean, not guys I grew up with, no.
But you just go out there.
I have new friends that do that.
so
I do it with a lot of police officers, FBI.
That's crazy.
SWAT team members. You get a lot of access to a lot of things.
That's totally cool.
They go, Chaz, come out with us. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
And I get in the car and I drive out there and I go on these big ranges. It's pretty great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
So what do you do when you're all by yourself? You're alone, you have a little free time.
I write. I mean, I'm a writer. You know, I still write.
So tell me about your writing. What are you writing now?
I'm going to, it's really important to me that I write about, I like to write things that mean something. You know, I write about wasted talent, Bronx Tale. I write about infidelity and Fateful. I write about people being disabled in Dante and the Debutante. Now I'm writing a play about PTSD, post-traumatic stress.
Because you've seen people dealing with it?
Yes, well, my brother-in-law dealt with it for many years, and he passed away recently, and he was a real war hero. And I go to Walter Reed Hospital. I used to go to Walter Reed Hospital a lot, and I go to the Veterans Hospital. I speak to the veterans, and I got to know them, and that
PTSD.
is
It's powerful.
pretty powerful, And sometimes, when you talk about something in an entertainment fashion, people get it faster than you can if you just preach.
No question. Please, yeah.
You mean like Bronx Tale?
Yeah.
Like more people have seen that in
Yeah.
so many different forms about wasted talent and about how those sayings have entered the culture of America, or the world, really. So I want to bring awareness of it, and I have this idea of a play, and I'm writing it now.
So you just started it?
Right now I'm just researching. I'm going to the VA hospital tomorrow again in the Bronx, and I meet with the people there. And
You ask some questions, and they kind of show you
I meet with the
what's...
doctors. The doctors give you more the answers than the... It's funny, but when I spoke to my brother-in-law before he passed away, he couldn't talk about it. I tried to get him to talk about it. And the only person that he ever talked about it with before he passed away in all the years was my son. For some reason, he felt comfortable with my son.
I wonder why.
My son Dante. I don't know.
Well, good for him that he had somebody to talk to.
Yeah. My son's an old soul, He's like, he's named after Dante Alighieri, the poet, That's him, he writes lyrics and things, and I go, where'd you come up with that? Wow. But I was the same way. I was exactly like that.
It's cool,
I would
guess.
write things when I was in high school that people would say that I would hide. I couldn't have people read it, because
Well, what did you think was wrong?
Well, I
with
think
it?
that they would say, the tough guy. What are you doing writing that stuff?
So now, is it still kind of a struggle?
I was an artist trapped. I was an artist trapped into this street guy's body. That's why when I did the movie Bullets Over Broadway, where I was this killer who was a genius playwright. And I'm not calling myself a genius, please, but that's what was the premise of the movie. And that I felt so like, I said, well, I know this guy.
So as you got older, you were able to reconcile that artist.
Finally, yes.
And so now it's not as much of a struggle when you're writing. Like you feel okay.
No,
I
went to therapy. When I started doing therapy,
And that was helpful?
Very helpful. I went to therapy actually I went to see this very great psychiatrist in the very beginning, 27 years ago. And I said to him, they say you're the best therapist, you're the best psychiatrist around. And he laughed, and I said, I'm going to be real famous, I know it, and I really want to get a handle on this. And he goes, okay. He goes, that's a little rare that someone's coming to me ahead of time, but okay, let's do it. And I'm still seeing the same guy.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
27 years.
Did he believe you that you were going to be famous?
Oh, yeah.
He knew it too?
He knew it too, yeah. He says, oh, yeah. He says, well, okay.
So he's walked you through and talked you through all the stuff.
Well, as soon as the stuff started happening with Bronx Tale, that's when I went to him. I knew something was going on. You know, I started getting all those offers, and I saw, it was like, I said, I got to talk to somebody. So I went to go see him, and I said, that's when I said, look, I know I'm going to be famous soon. I need to talk to you about this.
So what did you want to address at that point?
I wanted to address what it's going to be like and how should I feel about this. And he explained to me that all you have to do is do the work. You know, you have to just, and he used to say, you're really, you know, he made me, you know, you're really gifted, he used to say. You're really gifted, very gifted. Right, work, do the right thing. If you don't do the right thing, he was the one who said, if you have a Porsche, you put good gasoline in it. He says, so you consider yourself a Porsche, make sure you put good gasoline in it. You know.
So he was an excellent influence too.
Oh, he was a big influence on me.
And still is.
Still is.
So you see him regularly, or do you just kind of go when things are, that's amazing, I love it.
No, I see him, you know, a couple times a month.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no question. If it wasn't for him, I don't know. Because fame is very powerful. You know, you start making millions of dollars, and everybody loves you, and everybody wants to be your friend, and every man wants to be you. Every woman wants to sleep with you. It's
So what do you do with all of that?
You have to know what it is. You have to concentrate and focus. And believe me, I didn't make it till I was 39, and still it rocked me.
Yeah, it probably was helpful though that it came at 39.
Yes, if I was 20, it would have been a total disaster. I would have been, God knows what, I don't know.
Do you feel like, so it rocked you, but do you feel like it still does, or you feel like you've got it now?
Nobody ever gets it. I'm a work in progress. It's like a guy who says he's, you know, it's like a guy who's, and I'm not, but it's like a guy who said he's an alcoholic, you know. Fame is something that'll always catch you if you don't be careful. Look in the papers, happens all the time. You say, how can he do that? That was so stupid. You know, once you start realizing, wait a minute, this is him right now. Hello? Hey, what's going on, D? Oh, okay. I'm sitting here doing an interview. Could I call you as soon as I finish? I'm going to call you right back. Okay, bye. That was my son. Yeah. I call him D.
Yeah. Fame.
Fame is something that, and I talk to my kids about it. I go, look, you know, fame is a powerful, powerful aphrodisiac. It's like, whew. You know, people just go, hi. You know, they're looking, you know, it's like, you know, it's just, you know, you get anything you want, and but you have to know. See, what I learned about fame is the more powerful you think you are, the less powerful you really are. Actually, the more powerful you are, it's the less power you have.
What do you mean?
Because you have more to lose than everybody else.
Okay.
So I can meet, here, I'll give you an example. Tiger Woods, the most powerful person, billions of dollars. The woman who really took him, one of the women who took him down was a nightclub girl. It was a hostess. So you think you're powerful, but they got nothing to lose. You got everything to lose.
That makes a lot of sense.
You see what I see? So once you understand that, so when you're out in a nightclub and you're famous and all these women are coming on to you, what you're doing in reality is you're getting a gun. You say, hold on 1 second. You're putting the bullets in, you're closing it, say, here you go. You're like, shoot me whatever you want. And that's what you're doing.
I hear you.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So once you reverse that, and this is therapy, but you know, you have to understand. But it's hard. It's still hard.
Yeah.
And you start doing things like, I deserve it. This is a reward for everything I've done. All these tricks that you have to, you know, there's a constant battle between the right and the wrong thing to do.
You have to catch yourself when you're having those thoughts?
You have to catch yourself, yes.
And like cut them off
You have to cut them off. You have to say, whoa, wait a minute, hold on 1 second. I can't do this. Just like getting in the car, pulling out of the car.
Those minuscule moments.
A life, how did he put it to me? A second of impatience could cause a lifetime of misery. A second of impatience can cause a lifetime of misery. You know.
Yeah, you could see that, like the first thing that comes to my mind when you say that is like a car. You're driving a car.
Yeah.
And you're checking a text or something like that.
Or you scream at somebody, he screams at you, and you're yelling and you're yelling and yelling. You want to pay you, cut them off, and boom, somebody dies. So what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. And plus, you're always being watched then, I guess, too, right? Everything that you do.
Everything you do. Especially now, everybody's got a camera. Everybody's filming you.
You know when there's a camera on you, when somebody's...
I just assume that it's all the time.
So you just assume you're always being watched by people. That's obnoxious. How do you how do you do with that?
I ignore it now. But as long as I'm not doing nothing wrong, I'm okay.
Right, but it's even more risky for somebody like you in your position.
Yes.
To do even a slight thing wrong.
Yeah.
The other people.
Because I got some friends of mine who have girlfriends who are married. You say, Chaz, man, I go anywhere, man. Nobody knows nothing. I love it. You can't do nothing. I go, yeah, I know.
Right. You're gonna be held accountable for every little step that you take.
You're held accountable for everything.
That's crazy. Would you give it back?
No, of course not, because it gives me a platform to get out what I want to get out. I wouldn't give it back.
You're a very conscious, aware, self-aware person.
Yes.
Analytical.
Very.
And you've been this way forever.
Forever.
And it's paid off.
Yes, that's why I remember I was not a good student in high school because of my dyslexia and I didn't study, but I can remember I can remember almost verbatim every conversation that ever happened to me with the wise guys and everything. That's why I became a writer.
Yeah.
I can remember incidences. I can remember things that happened. I can remember.
They're there.
They're locked into my head. That I saw it and I was like, wow, look at that. I remember the first time I saw like the Don, the boss of the neighborhood, scared. And I saw fear in his eyes for the first time and I was like, wow. And it happened at a bus stop. I don't think I've ever told this story. Maybe I might have told it once, where he was involved with a guy. I mean, they're both dead now. I could say that. I won't say their names, but they were involved, and what they were doing is he was a boss, and he had a guy who worked for him, and they were stepping on the dope. In other words, stepping on it means they would get dope and then sell it to the neighborhood, but they would get dope and then step on it means cut it and then sell it twice.
Okay.
And then the big boss told them stop doing that. And obviously for some reason they didn't stop. So the guy underneath the Don got killed. He was dead one day. We just found out he got whacked. So that means he's getting whacked. And I remember the car just pulled up. And I was standing there at the bus. I was standing there at the stop sign, and the car just pulled up right away. And the boss was in the passenger seat, and all his bodyguards were around him. And I just happened, and he knew me, and I knew him, because I was a kid from the neighborhood. And I remember just looking at him, and he was like, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I saw fear.
Wow.
And he drove away, and I'll never forgot that. And I said, I said his name, and they said, what? I said, yeah. I said, he was shitting in his pants. They said, no. I said, yeah. I never forgot that.
You have to write that into something.
I know. He made it okay. What happened was, after they killed the guy, his number 2 guy underneath him, he got the message.
And that was the end of that. That was that. You should, but that will go into something, I think.
I always wanted to put into something, but I never found where I could put that.
Yeah.
But I never forgot that, because we looked at each other. It was like 2 stares. It was just like.
But also, you notice it.
But I noticed it.
You notice it.
I was born. Okay, I wrote this in something. I was born with X-ray eyes. I can meet somebody and know how they're feeling. I could feel it. I could look at somebody and know if they're nice, if they're not nice. I know everything. It's just like, oh, it's like weird.
Tell me about me.
It's like strange.
What do you know about me? What do you read from me?
What do I read from you?
Yeah, what do you see in me?
I read
It's a test.
I read that you're definitely a really good wife. You're a good wife to your husband. You don't play around on your husband. I read that you're a really good mother. I read that you're very driven, that you're a very driven person. These are like offhand reads.
Totally. I know you're not a fortune teller or something or whatever. But it's just observations.
But I have
a gut feeling.
But I've worked on it.
You've honed it.
And I've honed it, and I worked on it. Oh, I can read anybody. I can read somebody and go.
Have you been wrong though ever about for somebody? Because I could tell. I think when we first met, I knew you were observing.
Yeah. Have I been wrong? Of course. I mean, I have met some people where I go, don't like this person. Then as I got to meet them more, I said, all right, well, they seem okay.
Oh, okay.
But I always feel a little, I don't trust 100%.
Because that initial vibe.
That initial vibe. But then I got to like them, and I go, okay, he's okay. What I always wanted to be, if I wasn't going to be an actor, was a shrink. Yeah, my shrink said to me, he goes, you would have made a great shrink, Chaz.
So I loved this interview.
Yeah, I enjoy talking. I like to talk about things, and I like having a restaurant. And I'm the perfect celebrity because I like people.
I know, you are like made for a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Because you actually walk around, I'm getting the feeling, I don't know. I mean, we're sitting here, it's quiet.
Yeah. You know what it is, Cara? I meet people all the time and they go, hey, Chaz, I want to just tell you something on the street, walking. 5 years ago, I met you on the corner of, and I'm an actor, and I asked you about some advice, and you talked to me for about 3 minutes. I'll never forget that, and you really helped me. And I have no idea who it is because I do it all the time. And I go, hey man, it's all right. How's things working out? Yeah, I'm on a soap. I go, hey, that's great. 3 minutes, 2 minutes out of your way can mean a lifetime for people.
Again, it's that split second.
It's that split second.
Yes.
Just like 1 second of impatience can mean misery. 1 second of being nice could mean a lifetime of good memories.
So many people get to come into this restaurant and see you and meet you.
And meet me, yeah.
And boom.
And I'm here. I'm here a lot.
And I'm sure they're telling people, everyone they know about it.
Yes.
Especially if they're from out of town too,
if
right?
They're out of town, I'm here a lot. I'm not here every night, but I'm here a lot.
So if somebody comes in and they come for dinner and they don't see you, they should come back a second time, right?
Absolutely,
because your odds are.
Yes, and I always tell people, I usually come during the matinees, like after the matinee on Wednesday, after the matinee on Sunday. There's like a 3:00 show. I come here, not a lot, but I also come during the week too. I come a lot.
Okay, cool. So let's wrap with one last question. It's a set of 2 questions I always like to ask.
Okay.
Who do people think you are? What's the image they have of you? Chaz Palminteri.
They usually look at Sonny, I think, from A Bronx Tale. They think I'm Sonny. They go, hey man, you're like Sonny, that's this iconic character,
But in reality, who are you?
I'm just a nice guy. I'm just a regular guy who worked really hard at what he does, and I want to do something that lasts. It's like I always say, if you want life to last, do something to outlast it. So I'm trying to do as much as I can and write things. And I'm very proud of my acting, but I'm really proud of my writing, because my writing will be here when I'm gone. My movies will be here, but my writing will be here when I'm gone, and my plays will be done. I have a play called Fateful. It's been done in 14 languages, so I'm very proud of that. But I think the best hasn't come yet. I don't think the best has hit me yet. Do
you know what it may entail?
Probably more plays and more theater. Something more plays and more movies. The best, I haven't hit my peak. I haven't. I know I haven't.
Well, I can't wait to see you hitting your peak.
Yes, I know I haven't. I know it.
Chaz, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Really Famous. I hope you'll subscribe to the podcast, because I'm going to be releasing extra bonus clips with Chaz later this week. If you like this podcast, it would be great if you rate and review it on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening. Definitely follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Cara121. And check out reallyfamouspodcast.com. There's lots of bonus features, links, photos, you name it. Thanks again for listening. I'm Kara Mayer Robinson, and this is Really Famous.